They were not the softest hands, but they were the strongest I've ever known. A pair of hands, calloused, wrinkled, and worn. But behind them lies a story of sacrifice and unconditional love. Every morning, before the rooster crowed, my mother's hands were already moving. She would light the fire, warm the rice, then quietly wash yesterday's clothes before the rest of the family even stirred. Her fingers, rough from years of hard labor, moved with quiet precision, shelling corn, darning socks, harvesting vegetables. There was no rest, but there was never a complaint. Those hands were not only busy, they were purposeful. She knew that through her labor, she wasn't just surviving the day, she was building our tomorrow. When the monsoon winds howled and thunder echoed through the night, I ran to her room. And there they were, her hands reaching out for me, steady and warm. They wrapped around me like a shield, calming my every fear. She didn't use many words, but when her hand brushed my hair, I knew everything would be okay. When I burned my hand on the stove, it was her touch that took away the pain. Those hands didn't just protect me from danger, they protected my childhood from fear, from loneliness, from ever feeling unloved. Mother's hands were always giving, quietly, humbly, endlessly. She never counted how much rice she gave to the neighbor when their harvest failed. She never hesitated to cook an extra bowl of soup for the sick widow next door. Even when we had little, she found something to share. Sometimes it was food, sometimes it was her time, and sometimes just the comfort of holding someone's hand in silence. She taught me this. Giving doesn't come from what we have. It comes from who we are. No one ever photographed her hands while they worked. No one captured the long hours she spent hunched over a wooden table, sewing buttons back on our school uniforms, or the way she silently fixed broken bamboo baskets late into the night. But I saw how her hands wiped away tears without being asked. I saw how she counted every coin carefully to stretch our meals just one more day. There were times we barely noticed her sacrifices because she never made them visible. She didn't ask for gratitude. She didn't need applause. She just kept giving, stitching our lives together with threads of quiet resilience. Even now, when I sit in silence and reflect on how far I've come, I know it wasn't because I was strong. It was because someone was strong for me, with hands the world never noticed. Time spares no hand, not even the ones that once moved mountains in silence. The fingers that once braided my hair now trembled when buttoning her blouse. The palms that used to carry firewood up hills now struggled to hold a spoon steady. But I never saw weakness in her frailty. Instead, I saw beauty, etched in every wrinkle, every sunspot, every delicate vein beneath her skin. They were marks of a life lived fully, not for herself, but for others. Sometimes she would quietly reach for my hand, her fingers slow but purposeful. And I realized, though her grip had weakened, the strength she had poured into me was now mine to carry forward. Her hands had done enough. It was now my turn. The final time she held my hand, her voice was too soft to speak, but her eyes said everything. And her hand, thin, trembling, yet still so familiar, wrapped around mine like it always had when I was afraid. I remember thinking, how could something that once lifted the weight of the world feel so light now? But maybe that's what happens when someone has given all their strength away, piece by piece, year after year, to the ones they love. As I kissed the back of her hand for the last time, I whispered, "Thank you, Mum. You built me." And in that sacred moment, I felt her final lesson. That true love leaves behind no riches, no trophies, only the deep, invisible imprint of hands that never stopped giving. I now live far from the village where my mother raised me. The world is louder, faster, and more demanding. But whenever life feels overwhelming, I pause and remember her hands. Her hands were not made for applause. They were made for holding, healing, lifting, and loving. And I've come to realize, a mother's hands don't just raise a child, they shape a soul. They don't just cook and clean, they teach, they guide. They give without expecting anything in return. So if you're still able, hold your mother's hands. Look at them, memorize them, thank them, And if your mother is no longer here, look at your own hands and ask yourself, what legacy are you building with them? If this story touched your heart, even just a little, please share it with someone you love. Leave a comment below and tell us about your mother. Don't forget to like this video. It helps others find it. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications, because the world needs more gentle wisdom, and together we can keep these stories alive.